So, who would be your top 5 best dressed WNBA player of all time?
You gotta throw Ty Young in there. I don't think she get enough respect. I don't think
Okay.
Ty get enough respect. I mean, we know that she was dressing in the tunnels, but I don't think we talk about it enough.
Right.
So I'm gonna throw her in there. Y'all know I'm gonna be biased. I'm about to put all like my people like back
Do it.
Yeah,
Um,
listen.
Okay, so we're gonna throw Ty in there. I don't have to do it. I don't gotta rank it, do we?
Unpacks Podcast Season 2, Episode 4. We got a very, very special guest with us today. Amadi Brooks joining us from Indy. Amadi, award-winning celebrity stylist, transitioned from playing ball, D1, Eastern Kentucky, to getting into styling, so taking sports and her passion for sports and fashion, and just kicking off from that. Known for basically styling some well-known names, right? Asia Wilson, Jackie Young, Alicia Gray, Ben Adebayo. So WNBA, NBA, some analysts, connected with Serena Williams. Also did some work with Cheryl Swoops. But a lot of names, a lot of celebrity, A-list celebrities. And so the future, we're excited to have you on the show. And this season, you'll be exclusively styling Sydney.
That is correct.
Okay. So we want to talk more about that, and we love Sydney.
Mhm.
We love her personality.
Same.
We love her personality. We actually got to connect with her last All-Star game. We did an interview. And so just a fun fact, we saw her walking throughout the live. And so we tapped in with her and was like, what you wearing? Like we did basically break down to what
Cool.
had people break down their fits. And she was like, I don't know, the girl. What did she
way.
say?
She said, "It's a girl. It's a naked lady on my shirt."
The
She said,
naked
"Hold
lady.
on." Who called you? She said, "Let
She
me." She
called.
said, "Babe, what's
Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember.
Do you remember
And I
that?
be giving
If I
her
get
the
it wrong,
rundown,
she's
y'all.
gonna
I don't want
kill
y'all
me."
thinking that I don't be giving her the rundown, but it'd be a lot going on up there. So
Of course.
give it grace.
Of course.
But yeah.
Of course. Of course. Now we know. I mean, you have to be at appointments and all kind of stuff going on. So we know you. We know. But it was hilarious, and I mean, it just really spoke to her personality too.
And I remember the call. I remember that call because I think I remember I was in the middle of something that was probably with another player, and I'm like, "Yeah, hello." She's like, what's this shirt I got on?" I was like, "Girl."
No, she's like, if I get it wrong, she's gonna kill me. So let me call.
Yeah,
Okay.
we were like, just tell us what you think, and she was like, no, I gotta call.
I
She's gonna
appreciate
cuss me out
that.
if I get it right.
Oh man.
So yeah, super, super cool. So we already a little fun fact about last year's All-Star break, but let's get into it, chop it up with you, and we'll go from there. So yeah, excited to have you. Probably the most question you get asked the most, I would say, is how did you get into styling? What drew you to the career? What do you enjoy most about it?
So it wasn't something that I set out for knowing that it was like what I was gonna do. I did study fashion in undergrad, and I still had eligibility left, and I went and played. I mean, I went to grad school while I was still playing for sports admin. So I just had the overall goal to combine sports and fashion in some way. What that looked like, I was not sure. And then through like mentors in the women's basketball space and through my time just working in sports, like post-college career, I got to align with some people who were more into the intersection of sports and fashion. And I had the opportunity to work as a styling assistant, I think in 2018 All-Star Weekend. And so that was my first time actually styling a player. It just like opened up my world, like when things like just feel like it just clicked and it was like, oh, okay, that's how I'm gonna do it. And I already had like an inkling like that I wanted to help athletes with their personal brand. Like I would just see, before the pandemic for real, I mean, we weren't really talking about the tonal fits at all. And I just remember watching the All-Star, like, orange carpet. Remember they used to do it, like, right before the game? It was almost kinda like what their tunnel was the orange carpet before the game. And I just remember
Yeah.
feeling like these women are, like, stars, and they deserve to be treated like stars. They deserve to show up like the stars that they are. And you could just tell it wasn't that. There was no intentionality behind how they showed up to the game. And I just did not know what that would look like but I knew I wanted to be there to help. So through that moment at All-Star in 2018 where I felt like things clicked, I had the opportunity to work under Serena Williams for a while, and she was somebody that definitely poured into me and my passions, and she threw me out there, and she allowed me to style her for some of her campaigns, and it just really opened up my world to know what was possible. And so from that point on, once I decided to start my own styling firm, Amadi B Styling, and I was like, I'm going to do this full time. It just kind of happened organically. LaChina Robinson was one of my first big clients. Chloe Pavlik was another one. And so it kind of started on the analyst side. And then it started picking up on the player side from like styling people for the draft or styling people for their first All-Star. And then it was like, okay, well, I guess people are like, well, what did you style like during the season? Like, and I was like, sure, yeah. Knowing I had never done that before, but I was like, yeah, I'll do that. And so it just kind of happened organically like that. And, luckily just word of mouth and people knowing me from whether from the basketball world or just knowing me as just like good people, um, it just continued to pick up. And I love it. I think these athletes deserve to be, like I said, treated like the stars that they are. They don't need to be worrying about what they have to put on before a game or when they're making these public appearances. And then, adding the size inclusivity factor as well when it comes to clothing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's just becoming more of a regular thing. It's something we've seen on the men's side for so long. And so I'm just grateful to be a part of it. Because there's so much more out there than what we know about these athletes. And style is a good way to storytell.
I agree, for sure.
100%. 100%.
So your undergrad degree is interior design, right?
Fashion design. So it's fashion. It was like apparel design and merchandising. Like that's the degree. And then it breaks down. Like once you're in it, you do the intro classes, you kind of pick your pathway. And I found out design. I don't know if I got the patience for that.
Okay.
Now, don't get me wrong. I do like to like do my own thing. I have my own things I do on the side, which we'll tap into another time, a little later. I decided like merchandising seemed more of my route. So like merchandising kind of encompasses like when you see like visual merchandising at a store, like a floor layout or like campaign styling, putting together a line of clothing. So I went that route. Mm-hmm.
It took patience.
Oh yeah. I commend the people that do that sit behind that sewing machine. I commend them. I want to learn though. I want to be better. I know the basics, but I'm like, maybe, I'll take some time to really tap in.
Yeah, that's something I'm interested in doing as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'd be super dope, but it definitely takes time. Not like a full line, but like maybe just pieces.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It'd be super dope.
Yeah, that's how it starts. I do dabble, like, if I guess it's considered design, but it's not like cut and sew. But like I used to in college, like design and paint jackets, and I paint forces and shoes sometimes. Or like I think last season during the playoffs, I don't do a good job of posting all my stuff, but I like I rhinestones a pair of forces for
That's
like
me.
like I
Yeah.
love doing it. I just need the time, but I just don't advertise it as something I like to do too.
So that's a good segue. How do you balance like the athletes' personalities with the trends and kind of, style them?
Mhm. It just depends. I will say I don't consider myself a trendy, like quote unquote trendy person. I more so for like the vibes. Like I don't really care if this is still hot or if this is what's hot right now. Like if it makes sense and it aligns with the athlete's personality or like with my own personal style, then cool. But like I'm not one to chase trends. I more so like to dive into what makes the most sense for the client. So it's a happy balance, of course, because trends they're ever flowing, right, and they're cyclical. So Yeah, of course there will be some things that are on trend, but more so, does it make sense? And I think a lot of times when you find yourself chasing trends for your personal style, you can feel it. It doesn't present in the same way, when a clothes or the style is not authentic to you or the aesthetic's not authentic to you, it doesn't translate the same. And so I think keeping the core of who you are at the center of it is the first step. And if there's a trend that aligns with who you are, that's the next step. So that's how I go about the balance of it. But personality and comfortability come first for me.
Yeah, I think that's definitely something that people don't realize. Like, if you have that fashion sense, right, you can have a trend and put it on a person. It could be, it can just totally not be them. So it's not going to look good. It's not going to feel good.
Right.
It's not there. It's just going to be off. And so that's one of the questions we have for you. Like, what's something that people don't realize about the work of a stylist?
It's a lot of research. It's a lot of networking. It's a lot of sacrifice, compromise. I think people also underestimate the like personal relationship side of it. You really have to get in order to know your client and really get down to like what are their like style like their style I'm trying to think of the word, I'm sorry. What are like some of their style
Hmm.
pain points? Like to that's
Yeah.
unraveling a lot. Like if you think about yourself, like what's something that you don't feel comfortable in? Like everybody has something. It don't matter how good you look, how fit you are. Everybody has something that they don't feel the most comfortable in. And like getting to the root of why that is. Is it because you don't feel comfortable in it because you're scared and it actually looks good on you? And so being able to also ease people into finding themselves. You can't, for some people it's easy. Some people already have a sense of style and some people are like comfortable in whatever you put them in because that's just who they are. But when there are times to like elevate someone's style and it's not something that they're used to wearing, you do have to kind of know how to be a people person and show them that it's okay to take it step by step. We ain't got to force you into this or even dive into like why that is. Why do you not feel like that's comfortable on you? Did somebody say something to you that makes you feel like it's not comfortable on you? Or like, so the interpersonal relationship, I think, of a stylist sometimes get overlooked because you are coming in people's homes and you're literally stripping them down, literally and figuratively. And just to be mindful and respectful of it, because it can really turn people away. You don't know what the backstory is to why they dress the way they do or why they don't dress the way they want to dress. So just being sensitive of that and understanding, I think is an aspect that a lot of people don't think about.
Yeah, what's your angle like, and getting to know your clients, like, and getting that personal relationship with them to be able to know like what they're comfortable with and what they're not.
It's a process. It's step by step, like on the formal side of it, I start with a questionnaire, a consultation call. Once we decide to work together, I'm following up with a mood board of what I think could work. And opening the floor so that people feel comfortable enough to tell me no. Like, please don't, please,
Okay. Yeah.
please, please don't be like, okay, cool. And then you get out there, you telling people, I hate this. Don't do that. Tell
Yeah.
me. I'm okay. You gotta tell me so that I can fix it?
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's the part that is the process. Like you gotta take it day by day. It's not something I think I heard Law Roach say this on an interview before. You don't come in as his new client and then y'all got y'all him and Zendaya. Like it does not work like that. That's years of time put in together to build that relationship the same way you would build it with a platonic or a romantic relationship. So yeah, of course, the process of like the consultation, the questionnaire to find out what the client likes and doesn't like, is a part of it. I've had fittings where by the first fitting, preseason fitting, we're in this style, but then by the last fitting in postseason play, we're kind of, we're pivoting a little bit because you start to learn yourself. You start to learn what you feel comfortable in, what you don't feel comfortable in. And so at that point, getting to work with people over a longer period of time, the relationship gets closer.
So, what are some of your go-to brands and like some of your personal fashion favorites at the moment?
My go-to brand right now, especially for Sid, is an only child. The designer's name is Maxwell. It's a Black designer. I just think his work is so dope. It's very clean, a little minimalistic, but just it's unique at the same time. And I think that's such a juxtaposition that you don't always see. Like it's minimalistic, but it's also unique. Just through the little details that he puts in. We had the opportunity to go to one of his brand parties and during Art Basel in Miami last December. He put on a party. He had Teacher Moses singing at the party. I was like, okay, now I like him. He a
Nice.
vibe. He a vibe. So
Yeah.
I've really been liking his stuff. And you know, it's really important for us to highlight and very important for Sid to wear Black designers for big moments. And so I think we utilize them a lot. The opening game, Sid just had Only Child on, and you'll see more of it this season too.
Nice. Can you
Yeah.
talk about like that more of the importance of Black designers and what are some of the other ones that you've worked with, like some of your favorites that you work with as well? Black design.
Yeah, I think it is so important to, you know, use the platform that, you know, we have to highlight Black and minority designers. You know, and Only Child is one of my go-tos as of late, but when it comes to especially for my tall women, there's a lot of tall um inclusive brands that are popping up left and right, but and a lot of them are led by Black women, like Smash Shoes. I just loan your shoes. They're also very popular. Ofure is a Black owned does brand, and they don't brand themselves as a tall girl brand, but a lot of their inseams are perfect for my tall girls, including myself. So I like to dip and dab, you know, dabble into what I find. And like, I know when y'all saw Sid, she was in Andre Emery that day. I know that I think for Cheryl's brunch, she was in Thebe Megugu. Like we really do um walk that talk. Like we really do. And so this season that's gonna be very important for us. So keep in mind like what Sid's wearing this season. We definitely want to highlight a lot of different designers that aren't usually highlighted, and get to tell their stories too. So it's very important to us. I think often in the fashion space, we get caught up so much into just the major fashion houses that everyone knows when there's a lot of
Yeah.
there across all races, genres, ethnicities, there's a lot of dope designers out there that don't always get the love. And I was so glad to see at the Met Gala this past year. I think they said it was like 40 plus Black designers that were worn.
Yeah, that was
Um,
fire.
Yeah.
and it's a beautiful thing because it is. Elevation does not always have to equal the high end fashion houses that you hear of. Like those that work is amazing. Of course, it's you know, that's the quality of work you want to put on your body. But there are also
Yeah.
other designers out there doing that same quality of work.
Yeah. We ate it up.
We
That
did.
gala, we definitely
Yeah,
We did. Loved it.
we ate that up. I
right.
mean,
It was a beautiful
yeah,
thing to
yeah,
see, like, you know, and I loved what Lewis Hamilton did by sponsoring the
yes.
table for Black designers to be there. And Only Child is one of the brands that were there. Maxwell, he was definitely on the carpet as well. And so it was cool to see. And it was also eye-opening for me too. There was brands that I hadn't heard of yet. And I was like, oh, let me write that down. Let me write that down. But that's what it takes, you know, just that alone, having that platform, being able to see it, it just opens up your world, you know? And so I love it. It's very important to us.
Yeah, no, and I would say a follow-up question to that is, I'm sure you've traveled all over the world. Do you like dig into like places now you're located in Indy? Are you digging into like what's out in Indy? Like what are some local brands in Indy?
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, it's the same process for me already. I didn't touch down in the ground, touch the ground down here in Indy already. Like I already, I've already been asking questions. I've already connected with some people out here. Again, I think that's what it's about, you know. And like I said, just stay tuned this season because we really are trying to be intentional about that around the country. So like you'll see Sid in, when she's playing in Atlanta, being with some Atlanta designers, possibly, you know, in Chicago. You know, our should go to in Chicago, Sheila Rashid, like she puts together some dope
mhm.
work and we love wearing her pieces. I mean, I just appreciate the brands all around the country that do support the women before it was just hype. They were the ones who were still like, yeah, of course we love to dress her in our pieces. most recently we've been wearing some Sammy Miro. Like she, just it's been really interesting. I could go on and on. I love my people, so I want to keep on giving shout outs like
Yeah,
William Bassey. Like I can keep going, but yeah, we want
yeah.
to be intentional about that too. So when I could touch down here in Indy, I already started talking to some people, got some pages, and just want to be able to help people any way we can, just like people helped me along the way.
I think
That's
Sid
right.
is underrated in the tunnel. She's so
Yeah,
versatile and it works. It doesn't anything she puts on it works. It doesn't feel like why did she wear that? It just works, and her personality is
yeah,
very is not bubbly, but I don't know. We know she's a
It's
comedian. Like
vibrant.
she's very funny.
Yeah.
There, there
very
we go,
vibrant.
vibrant. So yeah,
Yeah,
I think she's underrated, and I can't wait to see
yeah,
all the licks you guys put together.
Thank you.
Uh, I have some people in Indy, so I'll make sure I'll reach out and see if they have any local
Yeah,
people.
stay connected. And it doesn't always have to just work immediately. I think I want people to know that too, like designer, stylist, whatever. Like I'm a believer of a higher power and his timing. And sometimes it could just be the initial connect and it's like, okay, cool, now we connected. But that doesn't mean that, it might manifest immediately, but there's been so many opportunities where things come full circle for me in this industry, or like opportunities come back around that I might have missed out on the first time, and or it just perfectly aligns where I'm like, I know that designer Indy. I forgot. I now I know, and I have a stylist that actually styles some NBA players, and I'm gonna send that designer. You know what I mean? So like, just keep that in mind too. I
yeah.
just want people to know, like, sometimes the networking piece is not some immediate like gratification, but just the act of networking just helps you so much. So yes, I am open. Send anybody my way.
I would say this interview worked like that, right? Like I
Right.
feel like I reached out
Absolutely.
like 2 years ago ish when I was just writing,
Hmm.
didn't have the podcast yet, and we were like, "Yeah, let's do it." It just didn't happen,
Yeah.
and
And that's why I
I saw your
came
post
back
fire.
around. Yeah, I was like, I
Yeah,
remember when you asked me before, so like, yeah, let's do it. I was in my own bubble at that time, didn't know what I was doing. So now I'm like, oh yeah, let's do that. So
It
yeah.
happens when it's supposed to happen.
Mm-hmm.
it does. And it's motivation for me, like for someone who's always been into fashion from a young
Hmm.
age. Everybody else always is like, you should do styling. You should. It's like,
Yeah.
all right. I just, but it works perfect for me because just being able to hear your story and know, like, yeah, you're gonna hear no's, but keep going. Eventually, you're gonna hear the yes, and it's really just a matter of starting.
Hmm.
And then, Nick, what are your thoughts of how the WNBA has transitioned, the fashion has transitioned, and evolved over the years?
I think it's a beautiful thing. I love to see it. I think it's overdue. Just because it's getting the spotlight now, it's not like there weren't players prior to this that were fashionable or like had their own personal style or might have had a stylist. I think people forget that. Like, just because you didn't have the eyes on it doesn't mean that it wasn't happening. Um, because like I think about like, I mean, I feel like I've always liked Alicia Clark style. I've always liked Ty Young style. If you go back to some throwback pictures, Tisha Penicheiro, she gonna
Hmm.
have a designer
Yeah,
bag on in that tunnel. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so it's not something that's just like foreign, but I do love that it is getting a spotlight now, similar to how the men's has pretty much always got one. I think it's a way to help players like in their personal brand, to help them storytell. Um, you're getting to see another side of players that you didn't know. Like I hear it all the time, and I think that's the coolest thing when I run into a fan and they're like, "You style such and such," and I'm like, "Oh, you know who I am." Like that's crazy, but okay, yeah, yeah, I do. And they were like, I'm not even into basketball, but I liked how she dressed, so I started following her, and then from there I started watching her games, and that means something to me, and I'm like that's a beautiful thing. There's not, there's different ways to access people, to access different demographics. And now we're seeing players like Diamond the Shields, like with an Aldo partnership, and or like Oakley, and like, and I'm just naming a few, but that's just how it opens up, and it allows more opportunities for people. And it's a beautiful thing to do it just through your personal style, kind of like who you already are. And now, there are the few that's going to take it to the next level. Like, yeah, I know y'all saw Rakia yesterday in the arm piece.
Oh
I'm
Yeah.
like, oh,
my.
they taking it there. They
Oh,
taking it there. They taking it there.
Yeah.
And it's, it's to each his own, but I think it's just a beautiful thing. It's expression at the end of the day. And like when everybody's wearing the same jersey and the same uniform in a game, it's just your opportunity to show a different side of you that maybe the world might not always get to see, and
Yeah.
I've always been the look good, feel good, play good type of person. And I don't think that it has to equate to just being in some extravagant look, but just looking and feeling good in your own skin and just knowing that you look good. It just adds another level of like confidence to you. It just makes you walk with a little
a little
something
swag.
Yeah.
different, right before
Yeah.
your game. And that's okay, and I think, for some people, the tunnel look might not be for them. They feel like it's not about the game anymore. But I don't think it's anything wrong with just having a little fun,
No, I think it's like personality overload, like where you get to express, like, we see you on the court, but you get to express who you are. And now it's the ability to be able to do that is so much more than it was then.
Hmm.
When you talk to some former players, from the very beginning, and it was like we had to dress a certain way, or
Right.
they styled us, but it had to look this way.
Hmm.
It couldn't look that way, right? And now we see, like we've talked about the draft and how the shift of the draft has been, and just being able to be who you are, whether that's you're dolled up, you have heels, you're mass presenting, you got the blazer with no shirt, whatever that looks like for you, it's like it's now welcome.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I to your point, I love also like the duality of which the range of looks you'll see in the tunnel, whether you are more mass presenting with your personal style versus being more hyper femme. I think that's a beautiful thing too, because now young girls who may not know how they feel about their personal style just because of like the pressures that society puts on them, or they don't feel like, oh, I can't be this feminine and also be a basketball player, or I don't feel comfortable enough to show up as my true self, which is more comfortable wearing, more menswear, or, makes me feel a little bit more androgynous. And so when you're seeing your idols also coming and showing up to work as themselves and not some like built up persona of who an organization wants them to be, it also goes deeper
Yeah,
than basketball. You're opening the doors for so many
yeah,
different conversations. And with that, the cliche saying of if you can see it, you can be it. Like, I know I've talked to clients before that, later in life, now they feel comfortable wearing more menswear or feel more comfortable showing up as their full self, whereas before they felt pressure to fit into this box because they just hadn't seen it
yep,
done. And so it's
yeah.
it's it's also, that's a whole nother conversation we could dive into forever. But
One of my favorite topics.
yeah, we could definitely
Yeah,
dive into that. But I love that. I love that too.
I would say the tunnel for real introduced me to Asia because I'm a UConn fan. I'm from Connecticut, so
Hmm.
that's my team. So I love Dawn, but I wasn't really paying attention, right? So that season she did all the jersey dresses. I was like, these are fire, but
Yeah.
more than anything, they were tailored to perfection.
Hmm. Yeah.
Like whoever that tailor is need a raise. So that's why I started paying attention to her,
Uh-huh.
and I started really getting into her game. I was like, oh, she's like that.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it. So that was my connection to really getting into Asia because of fashion in the
Hmm.
tunnel.
Yeah. Like
So
it's just that simple sometimes. You catching people attention in a different way. But yeah, the jersey dresses definitely did catch my attention too. That was when I was like, I gotta put her on my vision board.
yeah.
so who would be your top 5 best dressed WNBA player of all time?
You gotta throw Ty Young in there. I don't think she get enough respect. I don't think Ty get enough respect. I mean, we know that she was dressing in the tunnels, but I don't think we talk about it enough. Um, so I'm gonna throw her in there. Hmm. Y'all know I'm gonna be biased. I'm about to put all like my people like back.
Do it too.
Yeah,
um.
listen.
Okay, so we're gonna throw Ty in there. I don't have to do it. I don't gotta rank it, do we?
Now
Okay.
it
Okay.
has to be in order.
Sit in there for sure. Underrated. People might
Underrated.
underrated,
I
but
agree.
I definitely
I
throw
agree.
her in there. I love what Skylar's doing. I've she just has like a chicness about her that's just like it just works. I gotta throw A in there because I just think she's so versatile. And you've seen the evolution of her personal style over the years. And then y'all, this is not fair. I got so many people.
We asked everybody.
No, 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 no.
We asked
I
everybody.
think I gotta say, I got people, y'all. I admire people. I admire it all. Ain't no bias here. I admire it all. But I think for my last spot, I'm going to have to throw in Angel because
Fair.
no way we're talking about a player that just a sophomore in the league, but like Met Gala invite first year, and then you the co-chair the second year. Like, say what you want. The fashion house is respecting it. She been in Tom Brown since the season started, since preseason.
Mhm,
So I mean,
mhm.
just the fashion girl is the ones who get it, get it. So I gotta throw her in there. And this is not ranked. This is just me off the top of my dome. But I got some others.
I'm
I
talking
got
about.
some honorable mentions for sure that could be interchangeable in that five.
You could throw them out there. Go
Okay,
ahead.
Yeah,
I like Nika
sure.
Mule.
Okay.
I like what
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
does. I like what she does. I'm interested to see how it continues. Um, I think Arike has a great like sense of just who she is and it's consistent.
Yeah,
You can't talk about Tunnel Fits without talking about Ka, Diamond.
yeah.
Yeah, I could keep going. I'm gonna mess around name half the league. But yeah, I will stop there. We'll stop there.
You got a couple of our favorites in there for sure. It's a good list. It's a good list. So let's
Well,
talk
Tiffany
about like
Hayes.
who.
Okay,
Oh
you
yeah.
got that out.
Yeah,
Come on.
that's fair.
Tiffany.
That's
Okay.
fair.
Okay.
That's
And then
fair.
anybody I forgot, it ain't personal. I promise. I just couldn't think of it at the time.
Who's somebody that you would like to work with potentially in the future, and then what's one of your personal favorite things that you've said? What's a piece that you're most proud of?
Okay. I'm gonna go outside of the W, but I would I have like a list in my head that, like I said, I'm very much about manifesting. I told you I put A on that vision board some years ago and so I believe in it. Coco Golf.
Okay.
Coco Golf. I like what she's doing right now with the New Balance Miu Miu collab.
Yeah.
She's young, she's tall. So I just think it would just work. I'm like biased. I'm choosing tall girls. Coco Jones. So my Cocos. Coco Jones.
For both.
I would put her on my vision board and I would say Meg the Stallion. I would have to put her on there too. Yeah.
Okay.
And I know
Mhm.
they have their stylist, so it ain't no, I ain't trying to jump on your shit. But
Yeah,
that's just a goal. It's a goal for sure.
that's fair.
Hmm.
And they're all
That's
very
fair.
different. Like that would be fire if you can get them like all in one
No, for
group
real.
somehow, some
Right.
way,
Somehow, some
and let their
way.
individual shine.
From y'all
Yeah.
mouth to his ears, right?
Yeah, it's fire.
Amen.
Somehow, some
Yeah,
way.
that's a dope list.
Yeah.
What's your piece you're most proud of, or what's a fit that you're most proud of, or a look or an event with
I don't get
on
to
the
talk
athlete?
about this one a lot. I have a lot, like, and I think a lot of them sometimes are paired more so with the client in the moment, just because, like, as an athlete myself, like, it wasn't like a what you would consider a fit, but styling Asia's Gatorade commercial was like that was huge to me. Like, I always thought I'd be the elite enough athlete to be in a Gatorade commercial. That ain't happening, and that's okay. But that was like a huge moment for me. Or like the first time I got to style Cheryl, I wore 22 in college. Like I had Cheryl on my wall, like growing up. Like, moments like that feel big to me. But automatically, I don't talk about this one a lot. But Jackie's orange carpet look last All Star, the like crop blazer with the I think she was in Alexander Wang, and then she had the black tie that was also cropped.
Yeah,
I felt like that was my rock star Jackie moment. Like we were definitely in our rock star bag last season, but that one, we was able to bring it to the carpet and make it tailored, and it just ooh, it just like made sense. And then it felt like me. It felt like a lot of times I really do pride myself on styling people individually based off of who they are, not like interjecting my personal style into it. But I will say a lot of Jackie's look, that's me. That's something I would put on myself. And so that was definitely one that I would wear myself. And I think she looked dope with the tooth gems, and then
Yeah.
we like broached out the tie. It is we ate that. I love that one.
Yeah, her body style just fitted to like it
Man,
just
yeah, Jackie
yeah,
can pull off a lot. So I loved working with Jackie.
yeah.
And so I don't get to talk about that look a lot, but it brought it to my attention how much I like that look because recently a FAMU grad did a graduation
Yeah,
shoot, and she was inspired by that look. And so she did her thing too with it. And so seeing it have that influence, and then like it brought it back to my attention of just like I really did like that look a lot. And I like that others liked it and felt inspired to, you know, put it on themselves.
So
So, how do you stay inspired and even ahead of like the curve?
Yeah.
That is very fair.
You know, sometimes it just comes, it's just constantly flowing. Like I can look at a piece sometimes and automatically know who I want to put it on and what I'm gonna put it with, and like it's just about finding the pieces at that point. But like I see them in my head, like I see the outfits just in my head. But I think I'm just constantly inspired by like what's around me. Like we're already on our phones all the time. So like if I see something, it doesn't have to be an outfit I see. It could be like a mixture of colors that I see, or combination of colors I see on a building, or like in a post, or something. And I'm like, oh, I want to do an outfit that combines those colors. So I just kind of try to stay inspired by what's around me. And sometimes you run into little ruts. I think I definitely had a little rut recently, and I was just like, what's going on? And so sometimes it's just taking a step back. I also find that I'm big on family and friends. Like I stay grounded with my family and my spirituality. And so sometimes when I have to take a step back and just take some time to go home and just be with my people, like I got a very small circle. I still hang out with the same people I was hanging out with in ninth grade. So that's who I go home and hang out with. And so when I'm with them, I do sometimes feel like I get this burst of inspiration, or just like a burst of, I don't know, maybe gratitude that just helps me to stay inspired, like, and be like, oh, this is a God given gift and I want to cherish that. And so I know that was might be not like the answer you're looking for exactly, but that's kind of how I stay just inspired. And then like to stay ahead of the curve, I just, like there's like Vogue runway. You just watch, looking at what's coming down the runway each season. My mom's a big magazine person, so I grew up with magazines all around the house. We always just, I just feel like looking at magazines. Like I know a lot of people might not look at magazines like that no more, but I do. And I'm a Pinterest girly. Like I don't post myself on Pinterest, but I'm constantly making boards about different things. It only gotta just be outfits. I'm making boards about like interior design. I'm making boards about nails. I'm always making boards about nails. I always have a nail board. So just little things like that. And you just get inspired. You see bits and pieces of stuff like, oh, I like how they did that. And I'm like, I'm gonna do that, put my own spin on that. So yeah, and you just the trends just naturally start flowing. You see what's coming. You see like what's about to be popular. Like it was, it just works like that.
Now I got a little question for you,
Okay.
and it's totally off the wall. But I saw that you said that Griffles was your favorite chips,
Yeah.
and not
Yeah.
a lot of people know if you're not from
The
the
They
Midwest
Midwest.
don't
thing.
know about that.
You know it's a Midwest thing. So I'm from
All
Ohio
right, all
originally.
right.
So when I saw it, I was like, she know about Griffles.
Yeah, I know
You
about
had to
trip
get
house.
introduced to it at
You
school,
already
right? In
know. You
college.
already know. It was college. It was college. And shout out to my homie, his name was T.O. He was from Cincinnati. And his dad, I could be getting this wrong, I ain't gonna mess up. But he had somebody that he was connected to that worked at the Grip factory. And
You'll get the box. You get the
we
box.
got the box. He
The
would bring the
season.
box back to school. And so he would always look out too. So we stayed with a box in the dorm room. Like, and so I was hooked from that point on. And I even I used to work at the mall in Lexington, Kentucky. That's a whole nother story, y'all. I was
Okay.
working while I was hooping. Cause I,
I ain't mad.
cause and not the whole season, of course, but like summer sessions and like the off season. Because as a fashion major, I had no other ways to get my hours. Like I couldn't just go off and go to New York and have an internship when I got 2 a days, or 3 a days, whatever you want to shoot. It was endless. So I would
Yeah.
work at the mall up the street, and I would do like dress the mannequins in the windows, or like help with their visual on in this boutique, whatever. So anyways, saying that, the little carts in the middle of the mall, the food court, whatever, they had this one little shop, and it did not stay long. It was like a little mom and pop that opened. It was a mac and cheese spot. Y'all, they had a mac and cheese that you could order that had the grippos crumble on top like breadcrumbs. Okay. So it was like
Hmm.
toast, barbecue, like pulled pork, mac and cheese, grippos.
Yep.
Be like, yeah.
Yep.
So I've been trying to
Yep.
recreate that for my life since I
Yep.
left Kentucky. And so I don't know, it didn't even click to me that when I came out here to Indiana,
They would be
there would be
cripples.
grippos. And I was like, look,
Yeah.
everything's all right in the world.
Hmm.
Everything all right. It's fine. We
Yeah.
fine. It's cool. We got grippos here. I'm good.
Yeah. Now I mean, yeah. There's a seasoning too. Have you tried the
I have
seasoning?
not
Like
tried
the
the
actual.
seasoning, but I know I've heard
Okay,
about
so
it.
I'm gonna put you on.
Okay.
If you find a seasoning, put it on some popcorn. Yeah.
Noted. I'm about to go find the seasoning.
Yeah.
That's what I gotta do.
Put it on some
I gotta
popcorn.
tell y'all, I had Sia try to grippo for the first time yesterday. She wasn't fucking with the grippo.
Crumble it up on a sandwich, any kind of sandwich, turkey sandwich. So yeah, I
It's
could go for days.
right.
I've tried to put people on every. Yeah, I bring bags back wherever I live. Wherever I live, bring bags.
You got to, because
Yeah,
you
you have
gotta
to.
stock up. You gotta stock up. I had a colleague when I was working in corporate, and he found out I liked grippos, and he brought them back to me like when he would go back home, and I was like, you a real. He had he had them waiting in my cubicle for me. Like I came back, it was at my desk, just like laid up on the computer. I said, "Now look at you. I
Good
appreciate people
day.
like you."
Good day.
Yeah, so grippos is a thing, and I'm excited.
Yeah. Going into the last question,
Mhm.
it's just kind of touch on that, like demographically, like we talked about things that you can, find in a certain niche in the smaller spaces. Like they'll see, I'll talk about it often. Like they'll see like if they see my apartment or if they see me dress or whatever, they're like, "You from Ohio?" Like, yeah, I'm from
Yeah,
Ohio. Like, it's just not like as known for having like the style or whatever the case may be. But like, how has that transition been for you? And like, what do you say to people that are just like kind of like don't really necessarily know um, how being in a smaller space you can also evolve as well.
yeah. I mean, coming to Indiana wasn't as much of a culture shock as people might think. Like I said, I went to school in Kentucky for 4 years, so that was ain't nothing more culturally shocking than that. Coming from Atlanta, so I was like, "Oh, this is nothing." So, in terms of like the culture and everything, I just always kind of been adaptable. I've also had some time living in Palm Beach, which, obviously is a beach in Florida, so it's amazing. But, culturally, but I just always, my parents just kept me diverse. We went to a lot of things growing up, went to a lot of different places. And, I'm originally from Atlanta, outside of Atlanta, Douglasville, Georgia, which is also like suburbs and considered small town, but considered a real small town. It's a big town, but in comparison to Atlanta, it was a smaller town. So, we had our mall, but we would go out to like the city to go to like Lenox and go to, the bigger stores. Um, but my family's from New York, my family's from Jersey, we just always made do with what we had, what was around us. I was raised more so like a northerner than a southerner. Like people sometimes like, "You from Atlanta?" I'm like, "Yeah." It's like, "You don't give Atlanta." I'm like, "Yeah," because I was raised by New Yorkers, and like New Jersey people. But in saying that, you just kind of you find what you can. I mean, we're in the age of the internet, so you can dip things. I know for me, like I told you guys, we have our preseason fitting today. We just got to do a lot of call-ins, working that goes back to networking with the brands and the styling process that a lot of people don't talk about, actually reaching out to these brands for, pulls, loans, consignment, etc. So a lot of stuff we just had shipped in, but I've already checked out the mall. I've been to the mall like 2 or 3 times out here. It's just a little smaller than what we used to. The selection's a little smaller, but you find your ways, man. You find what you like. You find your formula of like, okay, I look good in cargos and shirts that are cut like this. And so when you find them, you find your go-to brands. And, I'm not a big person of like, it has to be a certain name brand or it has to be, from a certain store. You piece together things that you can find. Like if you like, you might like that designer top and that's cool. That's your investment. But, you can dress it down and nobody would know if you dress it down with a pant from a Nordstrom or, mix and match, high and low. So I think for advice for small city folks is that like don't disregard or completely like not think of what's around you. Thrifting's a thing. Your local shops is a thing. You just never know what you'll be able to find, and it might not be your full wardrobe obviously, but don't discredit it. There's definitely some pieces out there because creatives are everywhere.
So that was episode 4 of Tunnel Fits Podcast with our lovely guest, Amadi Brooks. She talked to us about all things style. Definitely got to give you your flowers. You are always very kind. Whenever I reached out to you for any kind of question, you were like, oh yeah, that's this, and this. So can't wait to see what you and Sid do this season. And then anything you have coming, we're big fans. If you want to send us anything, let us know. We'll promote you and put it out there. And yeah, we just appreciate you stopping by and talking to us.
Of course. Thank you guys for having me. Today was fun.
It was fun.
I'm glad we made it work.